We begin today in Washington, where the U.S. Secret Service has suspended 6 of its agents following an internal review of the assassination attempt on then-presidential candidate Donald Trump. Deputy Director Matt Quinn confirmed the suspensions to CBS News, describing the circumstances that led to the attack as a significant operational failure. The incident occurred nearly 1 year ago, on July 13, 2024, during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A gunman opened fire from a nearby rooftop, with a bullet grazing Mr. Trump's right ear. The attack was the first time a current or former president has been wounded since the attempt on Ronald Reagan's life in 1981. The shooting also had tragic consequences for those in the audience, as firefighter Corey Comparatore was killed and 2 other attendees were critically wounded. The attacker was fatally shot by a Secret Service sniper at the scene. The suspension of 6 agents indicates the seriousness of the findings from the agency's internal probe. While the specific failures have not been detailed publicly, the action represents a formal acknowledgement of a major security breach. The Secret Service is expected to release more information as it works to implement changes to its protective protocols and restore full confidence in its critical mission. Staying in Washington, the Trump administration announced a significant policy change on Thursday, aimed at restricting illegal immigrants from accessing a range of taxpayer-funded federal services. The Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., will enforce a new interpretation of the 1996 Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, also known as the Clinton-era Welfare Reform Law. This new policy rescinds a 1998 guidance that had allowed access to certain benefits. In a statement, Secretary Kennedy said the goal is to restore integrity to federal social programs and protect vital resources for the American people. A major program impacted by this change is Head Start, which provides early childhood education and nutrition services to low-income families. An HHS analysis estimates that this could free up as much as $374 million annually for citizens who are eligible for the program. Other services now reclassified as a federal public benefit and thus restricted include certain grants for workforce programs, as well as mental health and substance abuse initiatives. The new policy will take effect upon publication in the Federal Register, with a 30-day period for public comment. Even as the administration moves forward with that policy, another of its key immigration initiatives has hit a roadblock in the courts. A federal judge on Thursday issued a new nationwide injunction to halt President Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship. That order from January aims to prevent children born in the U.S. to parents who are illegal immigrants from automatically receiving citizenship, challenging the long-standing interpretation of the 14th Amendment. U.S. District Judge Joseph LaPlante announced his decision to block the order nationwide after a hearing, emphasizing the profound importance of citizenship. In his remarks, he called citizenship the greatest privilege that exists in the world and said its denial would constitute irreparable harm. The judge's order is especially significant as it comes just weeks after the Supreme Court ruled to limit the power of lower courts to issue such broad, nationwide injunctions. Judge LaPlante's decision directly tests the boundaries set by that recent Supreme Court precedent and sets the stage for another high-stakes legal battle that is almost certain to be appealed by the administration. On the international trade front, President Trump has announced a dramatic new tariff on Canadian goods, escalating economic tensions with the United States' northern neighbor. In a letter to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney posted on Truth Social, the president declared a blanket 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, set to go into effect on August 1st. This new measure will be applied in addition to any other existing sectoral tariffs. In his letter, President Trump linked the decision to the fentanyl crisis, stating that the tariffs are a response to Canada's failure to stop the drugs from pouring into our country. He also characterized the move as a response to Canada's own retaliatory tariffs from previous trade disputes. This aggressive action signals a potential disruption to the deep economic integration between the two countries, governed by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. The tariff could have a significant impact on a vast array of industries, from automotive parts and lumber to agricultural products, potentially raising prices for American consumers and businesses. All eyes are now on Ottawa to see how the Canadian government will respond to this major economic challenge. And finally, a federal agency is launching a new investigation into the business practices surrounding so-called gender transition medical procedures. The Federal Trade Commission confirmed it will be examining whether these services are being offered to consumers through unfair or deceptive claims. At a public workshop, FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson stressed that the probe is about consumer protection, not politics. He said his duty is to protect citizens from unfair or deceptive trade practices, not to pass moral judgment on medical choices. Ferguson pointed to concerns from parents who say they are told they must consent to gender-affirming care or risk their child's life. The FTC, as the nation's primary watchdog against fraudulent health claims, will investigate how these procedures are marketed to patients, particularly minors. The probe could scrutinize the information provided during the consent process and the validity of claims made by providers about the outcomes and benefits of such treatments. If the FTC finds violations, it could lead to enforcement actions, including fines and orders to change marketing practices. The investigation opens a new front of federal oversight into a complex and rapidly evolving area of medicine.